Whoops! I made a mistake! Sorry, but the milk bar is going to have to wait for a few more minutes. I'm gonna have to head back to the Solaceon Ruins because I forgot to do something very important here. And usually, I'm gonna go out and say it. I didn't meet a single unknown, and I need to do that if I want to fill up the Sinnoh Dex in order to get the National Dex after the post-game begins. And yeah, because there's no trainer in the entire game that uses an unknown, so you have to meet at least one here. It's sort of ironic that the only time where I go through an entire dungeon without a single random encounter, it's the one time where I need at least one. But seriously, it wasn't so bad now, was it? Now we can head back to the milk bar. But yeah, this is something that a lot of people tend to forget, especially in Diamond and Pearl, since I don't think you're forced to come here in Diamond and Pearl. My memory's a bit foggy on that one. But yeah, there are people who tend to forget about Unknown, and then they get to the point where they should get a National Dex, and they got everything except number 114. And of course, it's unknown, but those people don't really realize that because they haven't seen one, and obviously the fact is that if you fill the rest of the Pokédex, you'll see that it's an orphan Pokémon, so to speak, in terms of evolutionary lines, since it doesn't evolve from or into anything, and there are quite a lot of these. And, you know, I just mentioned Unknown Sinnoh Dex number, but it reminded me of Spiritombs, which is 108, and there's a pretty good reason why it comes at that spot. It's because it has a certain relationship with the fact that the number 108 is sacred in many Eastern religions, and indeed, the number 108 is everywhere when you talk about Spiritomb. It's Spiritom's base defense, its base special defense, its weight in kilograms. I think that makes around 230, 240 pounds maybe, which begs the question, is it the stone that weighs the most of this weight? Because, come on, it can't really be the ghost, because it's a ghost, it's not supposed to weigh that much, so that little stone is supposed to weigh 240 pounds? Sorry, but I have trouble believing that. And apparently, Spiritomb is made up of 108 spirits, which it reminds us of in Mystery Dungeon 2, in case we didn't catch that in the Pokédex's flavor text in the main game. So that's it for the little random cultural segment for this video. And so I would like to come back to what I was talking about a few days ago about Chandera, and that debate of, you know, if we have to take action at some point, what should be banned, Chandera or Shadow Tag, or maybe the combination of the two, though it doesn't seem like many people are really thrilled at that kind of idea. So I've been thinking about it some more, and I realized that when I said there are good arguments on both sides, well, I hit the nail on the head, to say the least. So, okay, Psyduck, we'll have to wait for them to get better, but they're not gonna get better naturally. Oh no, this is like a permanent headache, which can only be cured by a secret potion, which is naturally a throwback to Gold, Silver, Crystal. But we don't have that potion yet, so all we can do is carry on towards Veilstone. And anyway, if I was given the choice of going towards Veilstone or Celestic, I'd probably go towards Veilstone, because that's when I'm going to make a one party member usable in fights, and where I'm going to gain the ability to breed another one. So, yeah, Veilstone it is regardless. Now, this is Route 215, and it rains all the time there. So that means fire Pokemon and moves aren't the best idea to use here, but if you have water moves, or maybe even thunder, though I doubt you'd have thunder at that point of the game, well, go right ahead and spam the crap out of them, because they're going to be greatly strengthened. But yeah, as far as Chandera goes, well, I realized that it's not as much being Shandera that makes it so powerful, rather than, having Shadow Tag. And by being Shandera, I'm talking about the stat spread and the move pool. Though it's definitely true that Shandera has a great stat spread and a very workable move pool. So, okay, nothing up there, and this route is really complex. You can see an example right here. And, yeah. But on the other hand, thinking about what's going to remain there after the ban has happened, and, I think this guy's going to give me the payback TM, which is a fairly decent move. If you go first, it has 50 power, and if you go second, it has 100 power. And yes, that includes your opponent switching, so if your opponent switches, you pretty much always hit for 100 power with payback, which is excellent on slow Pokemon. Umbreon comes to mind immediately, but one of the big new users of payback is Rupushin, which is one of the most popular new Pokemon easily, and ironically, since I'm talking about Shandera, this is a way to, well, you could potentially use that to revenge kill Shandera if it hasn't started setting up. Of course, if it started setting up, then something like Ditto would probably be more reliable. But, yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna send Shandera into a Rupushin regardless. But, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, because there's gonna be something left after the ban, and it's gonna be either Flashfire, Shandera, or Gochiruzeru that's going down as collateral. So what can the other do? Flashfire Shandera is rather easily replaceable, and you could even argue that Heatran already does it better, so it's perfectly easy to replace a Flashfire Shandera. But on the other hand, Shadow Tag Gochiruzeru in the event of a Shandera ban, and provided that Wobbuffet doesn't survive for long in Standard, and even if it does survive, its modus operandi, is a lot different than that of Shandera and Gochiruzeru. So Shadow Tag Gochiruzeru would still offer something completely unique without really breaking the game. So I would say I would much rather do away with Flashfire Shandera, since it's more easy to replace, and doing that would favor a more varied and more healthy metagame. But that's just my personal view on things. But that's enough of that. We can just let the metagame evolve, and who knows, maybe we won't even need to think about it depending on how the metagame turns out. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with Pokemon, but I was talking yesterday with my brother about the Kinect, and the technology, the concept sounds nice in theory. I mean, controlling games with your body without a controller, that sounds cool in theory, but in practice, I have a hard time believing that it can really handle anything other than shovelware. I mean, when the time comes to play a real game, like, for example, Halo or Assassin's Creed, and yes, I know some of you are gonna have a shot at me for referring to Halo as a real game, but this isn't here nor there. I can't imagine playing that kind of games without pressing a button or doing whatever. I just can't, so I'm just under the impression that the Kinect was made for, essentially, shovelware, and as I said, it's really interesting in terms of the technology, how it works, but I can't see it working too well in practice. Oh, hang on a second. Physical attack based on the attack stat, and a special attack based on the special attack stat. Note how they're not saying anything about defenses. Not that I'm trying to imply anything, because back then, all physical attacks did go through defense, and all special attacks did go through special defense, but that's not the case anymore. We got Psycho Shock, we got the Psycho Break, which is Mewtwo's signature move, and we got, I think it's Sword of Mystery, or is it Ancient Sword? I get those two mixed up a lot. Anyway, it's Kerudio's signature move, and yeah, those three moves use special attack, but physical defense. But back to what I was saying, I'm thinking the Wii Remote, and even the PlayStation Move, as much of a rip-off of the Wiimote as it is, actually are more practical when it comes to playing real games, so to speak. Now, I'm not the kind of person who says, motion controls suck! Classic controllers forever! No, I'm open to change, and I would even be glad to eat my words and say that the Kinect could work on actual games, like, as I said, for example, Halo and Assassin's Creed, but I just don't see it happening, because at some point, having buttons give you a degree of control that simply moving around can't really do. And now, just so we're clear, I don't agree with the misuse of the motion controls. They gotta make sense somehow. For example, I'm sure everyone's aware of, for example, the spin in Mario Galaxy. You shake the remote and Mario starts spinning all over the place. That makes sense, and it's fairly enjoyable and very responsive. Too responsive, in fact. Sometimes I don't mean to spin and I start spinning. But that's not the point. Swinging a sword, same thing. The first Wii game I played was, obviously, as most other people, Twilight Princess. And for those of you who only had the GameCube version of Twilight Princess, you don't know what you're missing out on, because swinging the remote around to swing your sword is surprisingly fun. I didn't expect it to work that well, and with the Wii Motion Plus for Skyward Sword, I'm expecting it to be even better. But still, it has to make sense at some point. Waving the controller to jump, that just doesn't work. That's the kind of thing that's better handled by a button. And that's what I'm trying to get at. There are going to be things in most games that will pretty much require you to press a button, or maybe not require you to press a button, but it would be made much simpler by pressing a button than by moving around like the Kinect asks you to do. And I don't want to come across as a Nintendo fanboy either, even though Nintendo obviously is my favorite gaming company, but at the same time, I'm trying to take an objective look at things, and I can't see the Kinect being able of doing too much. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, but this route is really, really complicated. Just here, take a look at this, for example. It's there. I can't decide whether the pad goes up or down to Veilstone. What to do? I think I'm gonna go down, and well, because there's obviously something up there in that grass, and I don't know what leads where, since I didn't check the map for this route before I started recording. Usually I'm going to do that for complicated place, and I knew that Route 215 here was fairly complicated, but I didn't check the map, and now, well, it shows. So yeah, I'm going to try the lower route, see where it leads, and if it leads towards Veilstone, I'm going to head back up so I don't need 10,000 comments telling me, oh, there's an item up there, or there's a trainer up there. I know there's probably something. If I forget to do it in the next video and I bolt straight to Veilstone, then feel free to remind me, but I'm not done with Route 215 yet, so until then, you don't have anything to fear. I will try to remember it as much as I can. And honestly, I can't decide whether I like that kind of design for being more than just, oh hey, here's a straightforward road, now go in there and fight the trainers. Or if I have to hate it because seriously, no road in real life looks like that. It's the most topsy-turvy thing you can possibly imagine, and not even in Quebec could we dream of having something like that as one of our roads, even though we're the grand champions when it comes to doing really stupid stuff like routes that look like that. We still don't have that. Whoops, maybe I should have gone with Earthquake. I thought it was going to be enough to dispose of a Leaky Tongue, but I guess not. Leaky Tongue actually is fairly bulky for first form Pokemon, so maybe I just didn't give it enough credit. Yeah, pretty sturdy as it is. So, okay, now I'm probably going to run out of time here, so next time I'm going to finish Route 215, and hopefully we're going to finally get to Veilstone City.